Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I know you've been here a long time, so I'll try to just run through two quick questions here. Funding for EPA's day-to-day operations has remained close to the sequester level for 3 years. What have been the impacts on the agency? Can you confirm that the FY 2016 request would prioritize programs that help states and that basic operations would still remain at fiscally restrained levels?
Well, I think the agency is doing the best it can, and we are actually working very hard to make sure that we both maintain it as an adequate number of FTEs to get our job done. I think this budget reflects our ability to support our core programs and also to support some issues like the issue of climate that are so important for us to invest in and with the states. But the level that we're looking at here is, again, only a level that is even falling short in terms of inflation-adjusted numbers of what we were able to do in 2006. And we all know nothing stood still in 2006. So I really would encourage you to continue to support this budget at this level so that we can maintain the core services that are so necessary to protect public health and the environment.
Administrator McCarthy, I know you're aware that the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee reported TSCA reform legislation yesterday on a strong bipartisan basis. I introduced that bill with Senator Vitter and a broad array of bipartisan co-sponsors. Our goal is to finally make some headway and give EPA the ability to set protective standards based on science to protect all Americans from toxic chemicals, especially the most vulnerable populations like pregnant women and young children. The American people would be shocked to know that EPA has not regulated a toxic chemical under the primary law in over 20 years. At a hearing on the bill, your Assistant Administrator, Jim Jones, testified that the bill met all of this administration's principles for reform, and yesterday's markup involved even further key improvements. Can you confirm that the bill as amended meets the EPA's goals for TSCA reform, and are you encouraged by the bipartisan momentum on this bill?
Well, I am aware that Mr. Jones identified a couple of areas where the bill fell short of the administration's principles, but I also am pleased that the most recent amendments really address those issues, and I am encouraged that we're moving forward with a bipartisan bill.
Great. Is the poster child for TSCA reform is asbestos? The Fifth Circuit threw out EPA's asbestos rule in 1991 in a case called corrosion-proof fittings, citing the difficult standards in the law, which led us to the situation today of no real federal chemical regulation. Would the bill reported yesterday by the EPW committee give EPA the tools it needs to act on asbestos, and if a law is enacted, would EPA consider asbestos a strong candidate for early action?
Well, EPA would have the authority to make asbestos what we call now a high-priority chemical, and with that, the agency would be on a schedule for assessing and making regulatory determinations for asbestos.
Thank you. And then just finally, I'm not going to ask a question on this, but as you know, the last 5 years, there's been a 5-year working plan on Navajo mining, and it's a very extensive situation where there's been 4 million tons of uranium mined on the Navajo Nation from 1944 to 1986. And there are 500 abandoned mines, 145 in New Mexico. And so we're at the point, we started working on this with you. It was way back in the House where we really got all the agencies focused. And so I hope as we move down the road, we can get into the next 5-year plan. There's still a lot of work to do, and I'll submit some questions for the record, but I'm not going to overburden us here at this point and after an excellent hearing. So, Madam Chair, thank you for your courtesies, and thank you, Madam Administrator, and your assistant there, Mr. Bloom, who seemed to be on the ball and giving you some good advice.
Thank you.